Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Building for the Future Asian webinar on sustainable urban infrastructure and digital innovation promoting tourism, which is co-organized by the Hong Kong Trade Development Council and their Office of the Transport and Traffic Policy and Planning, Ministry of Transport, Thailand. Today we have a very strong speaker lineup for the event, including two speakers from Hong Kong, Engineer Francis Sutto, who is a Director of MBA Hong Kong, and Mr. Andrew Yang, Associate Director, Innovations for Sino Group, joining us physically today with us. And another two speakers from Thailand, Dr. Yong, who is Advisor of Transit-Oriented Development Project and Associate Professor of the Faculty of Architecture and Planning, Thermoset University, and Kun Ek, Deputy Governor of the Property Management Business Cluster, the State Railway of Thailand, who are joining us online. Of course, we also welcome representatives from our organizer, Mr. Peter Wong, who is the Regional Director, Southeast Asia and South Asia, Hong Kong, of the Trade Development Councils, and Kun Punya, Director General, Office of the Transport and Traffic Policies and Planning, Ministry of Transport, who are joining us online. Now, as transit-oriented development TOD is said to be a guiding principle for Thailand's urban development for the period of 2018 to 2037. Speaker today will share about the TOD initiative in Thailand and some success TOD cases in Hong Kong to enhance the future sustainable development and future boost Thailand and Hong Kong's tourism. Let me just perhaps introduce myself. I'm C.S. Chang. I'm the moderator for the webinar today. Perhaps just a brief introduction of myself before we start off with the webinar. I started my career as a young engineer in France back in the year 1983 after my graduations from the University of Hong Kong for the development of the signaling control software, which was then used in Hong Kong MTR Island Line train control systems. And that was put onto revenue services in the year of 1985. Since then, I have been working in the various multidisciplinary railway projects for both the operational railway and the new railway lines for both Mass Transit Railway Corporations, MTR, and also the Kowloon Canton Railway Corporation, KCLC. In the year 2008, I decided to put an end to my corporate life by starting my own consultancy business in the railway systems and operation and maintenance. Apart from being a practicing engineer on the various railway projects that cover a different part of the world, I'm also currently serving different professional institutions and councils to promote the implementations of modern and advanced technologies and the concept of smart city in the smart transportations. In addition, I'm also a part-time lecturer in the various universities in Hong Kong, Singapore, and Thailand. It is indeed my honor today to be the facilitator for this webinar exchange between Thailand and Hong Kong, and I hope you would find the sharing from the speakers and our subsequent discussions inspiring, fruitful, and rewarding. So before starting our discussion today, may I remind that this webinar will be conducted with simultaneous interpretations in Thai. So please click on the interpretation icon and choose Thai for the translation, so you wish to do so. And for those who would like to raise any questions to our speakers, please do feel free to do so by hitting the Q&A buttons in your Zoom screen and submit your questions accordingly. Our speaker will be happy to address the questions at the Q&A sections towards the later part of the webinar section today. Let's move on to the program for today. To kickstart for the program, please join me to welcome Mr. Peter Wong, Regional Director, Southeast Asia and South Asia of Hong Kong Trade Development Council, who will give us the welcome remark. So, Peter, please, over to you.
Thank you, CS. Good afternoon, Kun Punya, distinguished speakers, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining this webinar. Infrastructure and sustainable development intrinsically and necessarily linked. Sustainable and quality infrastructure drives economic and social development with a context of sustainability enhancing an economic's productivity, competitiveness, and resilience, and protecting it from the effects of climate change. The Hong Kong SAR government announced the Hong Kong Climate Action Plan 2050 on October 2021 with the vision of zero carbon emissions, livable city, sustainable development. It sets out 4 major decarbonization strategies as well as targets for combating climate change and achieving carbon neutrality, naming net zero electricity generation, energy saving and green buildings, green transport, and waste reduction to lead Hong Kong towards reducing carbon emissions by half before 2035 as compared to the 2005 level, and to achieve carbon neutrality before 2050. The Thai government also emphasized the importance of sustainable development in the areas of urban development and transportation. Policies, initiatives on transit-oriented development, electric vehicles, smart cities, digitalizations are already in place. The government is determined to integrate public transport, especially the train systems, into town planning strategies to promote better land use and foster economic and social development. The enhanced connectivity and accessibility to tourism destinations with the support of innovative technologies and big data will also strengthen the country's position as a leading tourism hub in the region. Collaboration is key to accelerate sustainable development, allowing the companies and professionals involved to leverage their respective strengths and expertise to fulfill the development goals effectively and efficiently. Hong Kong has gained a reputation over the years for its world-class architectural, surveying, engineering, construction, and consultancy services, and has extensive experience in leading multilateral collaborations through integrating its expert adoption of technologies as well as know-how in designing, constructing, and operating sustainable infrastructure development. Today, we will focus on the economic benefits of transit-oriented developments and how innovative technologies would provide total immersive experience to boost the tourism industry. Our speakers will share what has been done in Hong Kong so far, what are the opportunities in Thailand, and what are the areas that Thailand and Hong Kong can work together for building a smart infrastructure and net zero city. I believe this is the beginning of some fruitful collaborations between Thailand and Hong Kong. I wish you all a very enjoyable discussion in this Building for the Future ASEAN webinar. Thank you. Kapun Kap.
Thank you very much, Peter. Next, may I invite Kun Panya, Director General, Office of the Transport in Traffic Policy and Planning, Ministry of the Transport of Thailand, to give us the welcome remarks. Mr. Chopanit, please.
สวัสดีครับ Good afternoon คุณ Peter Wong, distinguished speakers, ladies and gentlemen. It's our great pleasure to co-organize today Building for the Future ASEAN webinar. There has never been a more significant time in history for nations, communities, and individuals to steer toward a sustainable future. For the past few years, Thai government has been implementing Thailand 4.0 strategy to foster an inclusive, innovative, and smart economy where environmental, social, and governance factors feature prominently in decision-making, project assessment, and funding requirements for investors and lenders. Thai government has been significantly investing in expanding and improving its infrastructure network through public investments and public-private partnership investments. The Eastern Economic Corridor (EEC) development lie at the heart of Thailand 4.0 strategy, featuring an integrated infrastructure plan comprising of regular railway, high-speed railway, airport, motorway, and port development. Beyond the EEC clusters, there is also a large number of projects in the pipeline at both national and regional levels to enhance urban connectivity and provide stimulus to the economy. Meanwhile, Thailand is well recognized as a leading tourist destination. The tourism industry needs a reply on sound infrastructure networks to enhance accessibility to various tourist hotspots, as well as big data and other innovative technologies to improve competitiveness in this era of digital transformation. We are happy to see that with the latest easing of entry restrictions to Thailand in May, more and more international travelers are returning to Thailand, which makes what I mentioned just now more important. At today's webinar, our speaker will share the master plan and economic benefit of TOD development at the Bangsu Smart City, as well as the latest plans on high-speed rail and regular rail development and its impact on the tourism industry. We also look forward to the sharing of Hong Kong industry experts on their experience in design strategy and digital application to drive and integrate transportation and tourism development. I believe these are tremendous untapped opportunity for companies in our two nations to work together for investing and upgrading infrastructure in Thailand. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish you all enjoyable and rewarding afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you, Skumpanya. So without further ado, let me just pass the time to our first speaker for today, Dr. Yun, who's advisor of the Transit-Oriented Development Projects and Associate Professor of the Faculty of Architecture and Planning of Thammasat University. So let me perhaps just give a brief introduction of Dr. Benozattier. So he has worked in the fields of planning and heritage conservation, focusing on community-based approach for more than 3 decades. He's currently a member of Thailand's National Committee on World Heritage Conventions, Ratana Cuisine, and the Old Towns Conservations, a environmental board, and the Planning Board of Bangkok. He's also a peer reviewer and subcommittee member for Tourism and Creative Economy Industrial Development Cluster, Thailand's Science Research and Innovation Office. So today he will talk about TOD study and the prototypes initiative in Thailand. So over to you, Dr. Benozattier, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chang, for the very nice introduction. And so I'd like to thank also the organizers, including the Peter Wong, Mr. Chang, Director Panya, and also Kun Ek from the SRT. My name is Jongtanit Pinwon Sien, and you can call me shortly as Yong. That would be fine. And I'm going to share with you the TOD study project in Thailand. The idea was launched in 2018, and the study was during the peak time of the COVID-19 outbreak as well. And we are working with the 7 national and international consultant company under the commission of the Office of the Dr. Panya, like the Office of the Transport and Traffic Policy and Planning Ministry of Transport of the Government of Thailand. And the 7 consultant company comprises those who are expertise in engineering planning, the international knowledge of the TOD and finance legislation, and also the public relations. My role in this huge project is project manager and coordinator, and my background is architect and planning. Today I'm going to wrap up the project into 4 topics, and I try to finish it within 15 to 18 minutes. The first one is the background of the project with a recap of the government policy and TOD concept. And what we found in the project is the challenges and key success factors. And also we have start the implementation of the three TOD prototype stations at Pattaya, Ayutthaya, and Khon Kaen, and also a little bit towards the implementation and how the TOD concept and study would be leveraged into implementation. For the background of the government policy, they start with the Sustainable Development Goals has been integrated in the Thai government policy through what we call the national strategy. It's a 20-year plan toward 2037. And there are a lot of master plans under these strategies. And the master plans for the sustainable transport include the increase of the share of the rail and mass transportation, to reduce the freight cost and energy consumption by expanding in a cheaper and more effective way of the transporting through water and rail infrastructure, and also to integrate regional development, especially the China's Belt and Road initiatives to link to Thailand and find the best logistic hub for this regional development. So the output of this policy, some of the output of the policy is a master plan for the rail transport and also the opportunity to promote the TOD nationwide. So this is just to show you the link of the China BRI from China and Laos rail infrastructure. And then we link that one and it passed also to our prototype area in Khon Kaen, Ayutthaya, and Pattaya, and at the end is a logistic hub of the Eastern Economic Corridor. When we talk about the expansion of the rail and mass transportation in the Bangkok metropolitan region, ahead in the future of the 15 years after this, we're going to have quite a complete network of the mass rail transit. And from this, we found that there is possibility of development of the TOD in the Bangkok metropolitan region of about 25 plus TOD stations. And for the national rail network, we are developing the national network, which are increasing a lot in terms of coverage area and efficiency, especially the increase of the double track and also the introduction of the high-speed rail all through the nation. And as a consequence of having this national rail network, we found that together with the analysis with the logistic, the master plan for the logistic of the country, there is a possibility that there would be quite a large number of the transit hub that would have a very high potential to develop as a TOD. But on that basis, each site of the TOD would be different in terms of size, in terms of role in the city, and in terms of the phasing for the implementation, because during the 20 or 15 years from now on, all of them is not going to finish at all the same time. So we have the biggest and also the most powerful TOD site we call as the regional center. The number is 6. It's appeared also on the map already. And the lower rank of the regional center that we have the urban center of the number of 49. And the neighborhood center, this is a very small township, very simple for development, but it still has the function of the intermodal hub in a very small area. We have the biggest number of 84. And also with the new introduction of the rail network, especially the double track rail as well as the high-speed rail, we're going to have 20 new development or a new town under the TOD characteristics. And also we have 18 special use TOD like the airport city, the tourism hub, and educational center, or the border, since the government has also the promotion of the border city to enhance the economic in the borderline throughout the country. And when we talk about TOD, we have to look at the concept. And at the starting point, when we did the kind of the marketing survey on the implementation of the land around the transit hub, we found that there is some misconception about the TOD. So the understanding in the first place of among the developers, TOD is just the high density and mixed use around the transit hub. But what we do not have at that time in the beginning is the effectiveness of the linkages of the intermodal or the different mode of transportation, and also the non-motorized transit like the pedestrian and bike lane, the skywalk that would facilitate the sustainable or the green transportation is not recognized. And of course, we don't have the amenities for the public use like the open space and green space, the public facilities, and also the infrastructure that would attract the people to stay and work in the TOD area. So the other three components of the TOD are big challenges for us as well when we first start the project. And this is an example of the lack of non-motorized transport and very low and also inefficiency of the linkages among the mode of transportations in the transit hub area. And for the implementation, we found also from the working with the local governments and also the authorities and communities, the challenges and we found in the TOD in the context of Thailand is about, the first one is about land, because it's a mixed ownership in the free market economy. It's very difficult to introduce the very mixed and high density development in a unified form in the area because of the mixed ownership, and it's very difficult to deal with that. The second one is the design and also the management of the cross or the transit hub with the mobility, so no modal integration. And also most of the our study areas in the TOD, we found that there is a problem or there is an issue of the community with the displacement and also the housing shortage as well. So these are the three challenges in the context of Thailand when we talk about the TOD. And in the project, we try to figure out what are the key success factors learning from the case studies abroad, like we have the Japan, we have Hong Kong, we have in the US, we have in the UK, and also some European countries as well as the Korean. We have a list of these key success factors, which are the spatial development area, which is the a very specific area. Like Hong Kong, you have the comprehensive development area already. The UK, they have the Section 106 under the Planning Act, and also the US and even in Japan, they have this kind of system. And also the land consolidation and land pooling techniques, as we found that the expropriation from the public organization is not possible because TOD is more complex in terms of ownership and implement and function. We found that some of our case studies that they have the land readjustment law and also the property right exchange system, which could also be applied to the Thai context. And all of the cases, they have the positive planning measures in terms of FAR bonuses or the floor area ratio transfer that to help reduce the constraints of the developer as well as the to exchange the public benefit with the increasing the floor area with, I think, more fair in this regard. And in terms of incentives, especially the economy and finance incentives, we study the tax program and also the mezzanine financing program as well. And then we have to analyze and to think about what would be a possible application to Thailand. And last but not least is the initiator of the TOD project. This is quite a complex issue as well, because for those who initiate the TOD may not have enough knowledge and competence to work and to achieve the TOD characteristics when they work on that. And we found that like in Japan, they have the URA or the Urban Renaissance Authority, and also in some cases the initiative is from the local government. And when we learned from the key success factors, when we look at the Thai context, there is a possibility because we look at the current legislation. During our study, the government has launched and has amended and has introduced some new laws that are very positive to the implementation of TOD. Like for the special development areas, it's possible to have, in Thailand, we call the specific plan under the provision of the Planning Act recently. And the land pooling techniques, we have the Land Readjustment Act since 2004. The positive planning measures, so the FAR, the floor area ratio bonuses and transfer is possible right now through the new Planning Act. And also the incentive, we have the program from the Board of Investment of BOI, the property tax law also newly launched, and also the extended property lease terms law, and also the initiatives right now from our prototype case. We have the local government as the initiative for the PTOD. So this is, I'm not going into detail, but this is a list of the current law that in line with the implementation of the TOD, we can use as the legislative tool. And you see in 2019, a lot of new laws and programs helping and fostering the possibility of implementing the TOD. And before the last topic, I would like to speak a little bit about the prototype area. We have Pattaya, Ayutthaya, and Khon Kaen. We select this is not from the research team, but it's from the consultation with the all the stakeholders in the local groups as well. So Pattaya is as big as the regional center. Ayutthaya is the urban center, and also the Khon Kaen is the regional center. And for the TOD program, the border also and the extent of the TOD is not drawn by the academic, but it's drawn through the consultation with the stakeholders. At least 5 meetings that we have this one. So we work together with the local and government, local authorities and local communities to work on that. So this is a starting point, and each site has its own issues. For instance, in Ayutthaya, they have to encounter with the impact on the World Heritage also, because the size, the border of the TOD is on the edge of the World Heritage, and now we are working on that one with the World Heritage Committee in Thailand. And also the different TOD, and we have the different function, different land use. Like in Pattaya, the emphasis is more on the commercial, retail, business and services as the hub of the tourism as well. And for Ayutthaya is more culture and heritage, and Khon Kaen is more modern. And the strategy of the city is just like that. So we have to follow, and we have to facilitate the existing role of the city. The last one is how to implement the study of the TOD. After we complete the study, we discussed by the guidance of the OTP as well. We have consulted the National Economic and Social Development Board, the Development Council, and also the the Council of State, who's the national legislator. And we come up to the conclusion that to leverage the project, we have to divide the phasing of the implementation of the TOD into short-term, intermediate, and long-term. For the short-term, meaning just a few years from now on, we, after discussing and working with the Khon Kaen team, we found that there is a high possibility to Khon Kaen to implement the project because the high-speed rail is waiting over there, is ongoing, and also very good cooperation with the local stakeholders. And also at the national level, at the national policy, according to the new Planning Act, we have what we call the policy plan as a tier 1 plan. So we have to put the TOD to be allocated in the national policy plan also. Now we have discussed with the National Planning Office already to integrate this or to incorporate the TOD into this tier 1 plan, just for the starting point of the government when we need to communicate with the government. And the last one is a TOD Knowledge Center, because TOD is very new and you have to do also equally the transportation and urban planning. But in Thailand is sit in the different ministers. And of course, we have to work on the housing and affordable housing as well. So it's also under a different ministry. So this we have to propose to the government also how to work on this. But the key point is the knowledge. If we have the knowledge, the TOD Knowledge Center, and do some practical PR and also the capacity building, that will work. And then we have to, and once we have this and we learn from the practice, and then we can go for the intermediate and also long-term process. So that's the end of my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Yong, for a very informative sharing on the TOD. Now, moving on, our next speaker is Engineer Francis Sutto, who is the Director of MBA Hong Kong. Francis has over 35 years of wide-ranging international experience in traffic engineering, transport planning, and project management of large-scale government and private sectors projects, TOD mixed-use development, and acquired in Hong Kong, China, and overseas. He also serves in various public services, institutions, and trade chambers. So today, he will share with us his experience on Hong Kong TOD cases. So over to you, Francis, please.
Thank you, Engineer C.S. Chen, and good afternoon, everyone. Khop Khun Khat, Director General Khun Punya, Khun Dr. Young, and Khun Ed and Andrew. First of all, I would like to thank Hong Kong TDC and OTP, Minister of Transport Thailand, for hosting this webinar to share our experience on this interesting topic. And thank you, Director General Dr. Khun Punya, for the opening remarks, and Khun Dr. Young for sharing the TOD experience in Thailand. So as CS mentioned, my name is Francis Sutto. I'm a Director of Sistra MBA in Hong Kong and Asia, a global transport planning and traffic engineering consultants. What I'm going to present to you is we have been working on these projects. So I'm quite happy that we share with you this, some of the projects in West Kowloon. We have been working on TOD and Metro for over the last 30 odd years in Hong Kong. So in the next 20 minutes or so, I would share with you some of the Hong Kong experience up to date and the design of integrated sustainable transportation development in Hong Kong. Okay. So first of all, I think when we talk about transport infrastructure, we need to talk about a bit of land, and Hong Kong is a very good compact city that everyone knows is very densely populated. So the general fact of land development in Hong Kong is, if you compare Hong Kong total land is about 1,000 plus square kilometers, and if I make a reference to Bangkok, it's slightly more than us. But population-wise, we are 7.3 million, and density is about 27,000 per square meters. So per square meters, yeah. So in general, what we have in Hong Kong is 24% of built area, and the rest are country parks. So we're highly densely populated. Okay. So a bit of a brief history on the reclamation. So the reclamation started in the 1800s, and initially is to accommodate urban growth and the economic development in the fishing ports of Hong Kong. All right. And then the reclamation stopped in 1996, and we have so far claimed about 60,000 square kilometers of land since 1996. Okay. Hong Kong is quite unique in the sense that it has been transformed from a fishing port in the early 1800s to a major global financial and logistic hub. So, riding on the theme of this webinar, a comprehensive sustainable transport system is important for any city to connect with the economy drivers and attractions surrounding the city, right? So Hong Kong is not only one of the world's most dynamic, vibrant international financial city, it's also ranked first in the 2017 Sustainable City Mobility Index. So the comprehensive public transport network is well connected with the bustling urban area of, if you're familiar with Hong Kong, the Tsim Sha Tsui, Causeway Bay, and the Kowloon Peninsula, and also the township along the rail network corridor, and the ecotourism related attractions surrounding Hong Kong. One can reach a country park within 1 or 2 hours by public transport from the city center. According to government data, there are a staggering 12.4 million visitors to the country park last year alone. The evolution of the Hong Kong rail system forms a unique part of the Hong Kong public transport development since the 70s. The railway network consists of 10 lines plus one high-speed rail to Guangzhou, covering over 270 kilometers in length. And the recently completed section of the Southern Central Ring across the harbour provides a seamless connection between Hong Kong Island, Kowloon, and the rest of the new territory. Majority of the metro stations are connected to commercial, residential, and public facility. In total, there are 98 metro stations and 68 LRT stations. Over 50% of the population and over 70% of employments are located within the 500 station catchment corridor of a rail network. So, given that Hong Kong's close proximity to the Great Bay Area of mainland China, our extensive, well-established transport network extends beyond our borders. Hong Kong, as a super connector, provides easy and convenient access to the fast-growing economies in the GBA and the rest of the world. The GBA consists of 2 special administrative regions of Hong Kong and Macau, and 9 municipalities in mainland China. With a total population over 86 million, covering an area of 56,000 square meters. So the GDP is estimated to be over 12 trillion RMB in 2021. So there are 4 major international airports and 3 major top 10 container ports within the GBA, including the Hong Kong airports and the ports. So within Hong Kong, connecting to the GBA is by means of road and rail. So we have the Hong Kong Zhuhai-Macau Bridge, and then we have the high-speed rail, intercity rail, the road borders crossing points. So for details, you can see in the box on the left-hand corner if you, for the websites to the GBA. All right. So I'm sure most of the audience are familiar with the terms TOD, as mentioned by Dr. Young earlier. In general, TOD can be described as an integrated mixed-use community and people-centric development, supported by seamless connectivity to enhance local economic growth. We always refer to the 3 basic Ds as shown earlier: density, diversity, and design, or you may include distance and destination. So we focus on the high-density development, land use diversity, which is mixed use, and the high-quality design, which connections in terms of walkability and seamless connections between community and the stations. Example of the derailment pattern with and without TOD, as you can see on the bottom is the Taikushing, which is high density derailment within 2 stations, catchment of 500 meter each, and the area in a new territory which rely on buses to get to the nearest station that is over 1 km away. So for TOD concept, typically we make use of the means of the horizontal or vertical integration within the stations and community facility that include mixed-use commercial function above or adjacent to station, private and public housing with open space and parks connected seamlessly with pedestrian walkway and corridors, road-based public transport integrated hub for feeders, example, first miles and last mile connection between the 400 to 800 meters. Accessibility around station can be greatly improved for rail plus feeders, as well as enhancing land value and promote sustainability. So the typical TOD models in Hong Kong are shown. So TOD RMP projects are not monoliths. They vary from location to location. Right? The examples are shown here. We have high-density derailment integrated above a single or multimodal station, such as Kowloon Station. High-density derailment adjacent or above a depot, such as Kowloon Bay. High-density derailment adjacent to stations, such as Lohas Park, and so on and so forth. But the most important factor is the seamless connection to the station and with other supporting public transport facility and catchment to attract ridership, increase commercial value of the local neighborhood. Now, talking about the first mile, last mile seamless connection, in Hong Kong, we have 2 very typical examples of distance between stations. The one in Tsuen Wan on your left-hand side is the 2 station connected stretch over a 6 kilometer length. I think it's roughly about 1 kilometer apart, under just 1 kilometer. Right? And the one on the left is the central CBD. So they are all well connected by footbridges. And then with the central escalator, which is very famous, and it's also one of the projects that was designed by us and CS old company back in the 80s. And when we talk about the TOD models in Hong Kong, TOD RMP model is quite unique, as the Hong Kong government provides MTR with the comprehensive land development rights at station and depot, and in return for the building of the rail system by means of adopting a bridging the funding gaps model, right? This is also a form of what I call the land value capture model. RMP model also enhance the growth of local communities along the railway. To convert this development rights to land, MTR plus the potential developer or JV pays a land premium to government based on the land market value, excluding the railway, and negotiate before tender offer to the potential developer. So MTR will partner with potential developer through competitive tendering process to build the properties above or around the stations or depot. So MTR will receive a share of the profits from the sales of property. Could be a percentage of the total development profits, or fixed lump sum fee, or a portion of the commercial built on site. And this is the success story of MTR. Under this model, no loan subsidies, operate one of the world's best metro system with low fares and 99% reliable service. So the process of getting this implemented, right? The key 4 elements that we have a well-established institutional and legal framework, land entitlement, multi-business organization, comprehensive planning. Right? So before the tender process starts, MTR and the JV will do a process of what we call the development control plans, right? And then after that, after the award of contract, you have to follow through the MLP process to plan the whole project. right? So you started with the development master plan. You resolve all the interface issue within the railway, and then you tender and resolve all the submission process, and you construct. So in the process of construction, you also start to launch the pre-sale, and then your completion, and then depending on the complexity of each project, the time for completion could range from 48 months to 60 months, and then the ownership. Okay. All right. So I'm going to give you a quick run, quick introduction of the West Kowloon Hub and how it was built. So the reason to showcase this West Kowloon example is the uniqueness of this development transform over the last 40 years. Okay? So this slide shows the comparison between Bangsu and West Kowloon. Okay? Bangsu is over 3 times larger than West Kowloon, but with similar characteristics and land use. So the evolution of West Kowloon started with the first mass public housing in the 70s, and then infrastructure development thereafter in the 80s and 90s, and the reclamation and the new airport core projects. All this followed by the Kowloon Station, the West Kowloon Cultural District, high-speed rail station, mixed-use development, and added above or adjacent to the station. Right. So the area of West Kowloon, right, as shown, was transformed after the reclamation with the construction of the MTR Airport Express, Dongchung Line, running underneath the Kowloon Station in the late 90s, and then the topside development that comes in. Right, that takes over 10 years to build between the 2000 or slightly before to 2010 plus. And then we have the West Kowloon Cultural District located at the waterfront, occupying about 40 hectares of land. And then the MTR West Rail extension to adjacent Austin Station plus development. And then the completion of the high-speed rail stations, which is 26 kilometers to Guangzhou in 2018. All right. So along the west, and then we have this being designed and tendered by one of the developer awarded for this commercial development above the high-speed rail station. So along the waterfront, we have the arts and cultural, and then all these buildings are gradually being under construction or completed, including the famous Palace Museum, which will be open on this Saturday, the 2nd of July. So within the area, we have a comprehensive network of pedestrian corridor, either be on grade or grade separation. So you can travel to the north or up to from West Kowloon to Wongkok and Yamatei, while the future Central Kowloon Green Deck and the bus terminal's podium, which is also a park, all the way down to Tsim Sha Tsui, via the Kowloon Park and also the Nathan Road corridor. Okay. So, okay. So before I finish my presentation, just a bit of background of MVA. So MVA started in 1968 in the UK. We've been in Hong Kong since in the 70s. Ever since we come to Hong Kong, we have involved in a lot of public transport projects. Right. And MVA is also part of a Sistra group, which is a French railway, and owned by SNCF and RTP and the French Bank. And Sistra is a top 10 public transport design specialist in the world, and we are celebrating 65 years this year. Right. So, thank you.
Thank you very much, Francis, for again a very comprehensive sharing onto the TOD cases in Hong Kong. I do receive questions from the floor. So can I just remind you again that for those who really have questions for both Dr. Yong and also Francis, please do put your questions through the Q&A functions, and the speaker will address your questions in the Q&A section later. So now may I introduce Kun Ek, the Deputy Governor of the Property Management Business Cluster, the State Railway of Thailand, to give our next presentations. Mr. Sittivakin will share the latest development of Bangsu and Eastern Seaboard high-speed train from Bangkok to Rayong Province, which provides a link between Dong Museum Airport, Suvarnabhumi Airport, and Utapao International Airport. The connections between Bangkok and Eastern Thailand will improve and encourage more tourists to explore the regions for sure. So over to you, Mr. Sittivakin, please.
Oh, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. First of all, please accept my apology on my presentation. My presentation material is kind of no excitement. But anyway, I try my best. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of State Railway of Thailand, or SRT, I would like to talk about two topics. Before that, I would like to give a special thanks to Ministry of Land, Infrastructure and Transport, Japan, and Urban Renaissance, a Japan state-owned enterprise, for supplying useful information on Bangsu Smart City. Okay, the two topics that will be discussed are first, Bangsu Development Plan, and the second one, the high-speed airport railing in the Eastern Seaboard. Both applies TOD and Smart City development concept. Since my presentation time lasts 20 minutes, 2/3 of the time will be allocated for the first topic and remaining for the second one. By the way, both projects follows the the rail property model. Please allow me to start with the first topic, Bangsu Development Plan. Bangsu area owned by SRT has an approximate area of 900 acres. The project area located in the northern part of Bangkok with a distance of 12 kilometers from Don Mueang Airport. The existing nearby places and attractions include Siam Cement Groups, or SCG, a public company, main office with over 8,000 staffs, Central Plaza, Lat Prao, this is for shopping, Chatuchak Weekend Market. I think many of you know this place already. The center of OTOP, all one district, one product, and imported goods from overseas. Queen Sirikit and Road Fai Park, the largest park with more than 150 acres on the green area on the slide. The master plan classifies the area into 9 zones, zone A to G. Each zone is determined for different purposes. In Bangsu area, 2 major rail are currently in operation. The first line, the red dotted line here, the commuter service, we call the red line commuter service, operated by SRT with Bangsu Grand Station, with an area, the gross floor area of 300,000 square meters. The commuter red line, functioning as a spinal cord, carries passengers from Bangkok to Bangkok outskirts to Bangkok Transport Center with a maximum speed of 160 kilometers per hour. The other, the blue line, right here, is the primary mass transit line, transporting passengers in downtown areas, connecting to other mass transit lines. Mass Rapid Transit Authority is the operator of this line. As mentioned earlier, Bangsu Grand Station is located in Bangsu area. The building has the gross floor area of 500,000 square meters and commercial area of around 45,000 square meters. The station can be regarded as a prime engine unleashing the untapped potential of the property. Concerning the land use policy, offices, commercial facilities, hotels are planned around Bangsu Grand Station as the land is valuable. Residential areas are planned near the park. Examples of the zone are, first, Zone C, right here, is designed for meeting, incentive, travel, conventions, exhibition, or MICE. Super Arena, including an exhibition center, is planned with advantage of access from airports and center of Bangkok. Zone E, the government office. Skyscrapers are planned as a landmark of Bangsu area. The third one, Zone F, a shopping mall is planned. People can enjoy shopping and amusement park, restaurants, and etc. Briefly, the red line was opened commercially in last November, in fact. Starting from Bangsu Station, the service in the north ends at Rangsit Station with a distance of 26 kilometers, while the service on the west terminates at Talingshan, 14 kilometers away from Bangsu Grand Station. Some of you may wonder if any of these zones has been offered to public. There was first invitation for open bidding for Zone A. The Zone A is right here. Through PPP process in 2019, or 3 years ago. The second invitation between 2020 to 2021. In both biddings, there were no private company came forward to make a proposal. Thanks to the TWI Limited UK for illustrating the benefits of smart city. The main goal of a smart city is to optimize city functions and promote economic growth, while also improving the quality of life of citizens by using smart technologies and data analysis. The value lies in how this technology is used, rather than simply how much technology is available. Why smart city in Bangsu area? Bangsu area, the target area of this study, we incorporate 6 intersecting lines, including a high-speed rail and airport rail link, with the Bangsu Grand Station and its adjacent stations as a traffic hub in and around Bangsu Grand Station, while functioning as a terminal for long and medium distance buses. Accordingly, the district is envisaged to become Bangkok's new central station and public transport hub. And an alternative to Hua Lamphong or Bangkok railway station, moreover, the district is planned to incorporate urban business functions as the new gateway of Bangkok, while embodying the contemporary urban development concept of a smart city. Pahon Yotin Transport Center, Bangsu area, is a part of the inner northern corridor. The Pahon Yotin Transport Center would be a junction among SRT, red lines, high-speed railways, BRT, BTS, and intercity bus station, but it is about 10 kilometers away from Bangkok CBD. The plan is to develop the area as a new urban core for Bangkok, incorporating urban business functions by applying a transit-oriented development approach. The area is thus envisaged to become a gateway for Bangkok, through which a variety of people and businesses come and gather. Mission for Bangsu area development. First, to create a new urban core. Second, to implement TOD integrated with the largest station in Southeast Asia. Third, to propose a new urban lifestyle by mixing the traditional culture and cutting-edge technology. Fourth, urban development as a model for the ASEAN, a problem-solving approach in response to social demands, urban issues, traffic congestion, environmental measures, etc. And last, maximizing Bangsu's value as a global gateway through integrated development. Examples of smart services include smart mobility, smart energy, smart environment, smart city center. JICA study suggested the detailed number of people in the area, 54,000 residents and guests, 46,000 workers, 200,000 visitors. Combination of accessibility to the whole area and business activities in the must function seamlessly. Accessibility with other public services is required. Due to high smart city infrastructure investment cost, development the whole area at the same time may not be sensible. Phasing schedule is preferred in order to take advantage of ripple effects. Stepwise development to ensure sustainability are shown in 3 phases in the next 10 years. Let's move on to the last topic, the high-speed airport railing in the Eastern Seaboard. First of all, what is EEC? EEC stands for Eastern Economic Corridor. The EEC straddles 3 eastern provinces of Thailand, Chonburi, Rayong, Chachoengsao. Thai government hopes to turn these provinces into a hub for technological manufacturing and services with strong connectivity to its ASEAN neighbors by world-class infrastructures, including road, ports, airport, freight, double-track railway, and high-speed train. SRT is in charge of double-track railway and high-speed train project. Due to this large-scale project, the implementation outline and phasing schedule are major parts of master plan. Scope of high-speed rail link connects 3 main airports, namely Don Mueang, Suvarnabhumi, and Utapao. This is the kickoff project of the infrastructure in EEC project. The entire route would be approximately 220 kilometers long and reach a maximum speed of 250 kilometers per hour. And it would take roughly 45 minutes to travel from Bangkok to Utapao. Importantly, Makassan station returned to main stations of the high-speed rail. In fact, Makassan project area can be perceived as a springboard for regional growth in Asia. Under the high-speed project, 2 pieces of land, Makassan and Sriracha TOD, have been granted to the concessionaire, while Sriracha 10 acres with an area of only 10 acres supports the growth of local community in the heart of Chonburi province. By the way, how important is Sriracha TOD? Sriracha TOD is an important piece of Sriracha's local economy. We will invest in commercial and hospitality assets to support the local economy. There are a lot of Japanese influencers and communities in the area. We will be looking at the support these communities that drive economic activity. Influence may be limited by the 10 acres area and the shape of the real estate. It is important to frame Makassan TOD as a springboard platform for the growth. Now come to the Makassan. 56 acres plays an extensive role in regional level. The Makassan offers a new commercial hub for regional multinational corporations headquarters facilitated by a unique PPP incentives. Southeast Asia's greenest, most technologically advanced city center precinct, a destination with unparalleled local and regional rail accessibility for business and leisure visitors, a world-class lifestyle destination hosting leading entertainment, dining, retail, cultural, and heritage attraction. Finally, and significantly, the vision for Makassar and land development enables sustainable, equitable growth throughout the region. That is the end of my presentation. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Okay, thank you very much, Kun Ek, for these very interesting presentations on the two cases that he's presented. So the last but not the least, we have Mr. Andrew Yang, Associate Director, Innovations of the Sino Group, to share with us the latest innovative technologies and applications for promoting tourism. Andrew has over 35 years of executive experience. He is currently working in Sino Group, responsible for the group's innovations and technology development and exploring investment opportunities. He serves on various committees in different universities, such as Singapore Management University, City University of Hong Kong, and the Hong Kong Baptist University. He also takes up various positions in leading commerce and industry associations, including the Hong Kong Automation Technology Councils and the AI and Robotics Alliance of Hong Kong. So I pass the floor to Andrew. Andrew, please.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a pleasure to share some of our experience in this field. And the previous speaker all spoke about the macro perspective of transportation and planning of highway, etc. So what I intend to do is share some of our thoughts in terms of digital innovation that can promote tourism. There is a saying that the future is digital. In my perspective of looking at digital technology, we do see construction industry, the building industry will be and has been, but increasingly will be very largely disrupted by digital technology all through. But today we're just going to look at for tourism aspect. There's a saying there of the 6A, basically attraction, about the amusement park, etc., accessibility, amenity, and the available packages, the activity, ancillary services, etc. But there's been saying smart tourism is, in the future, is the application of technology and innovation to facilitate a tourist experience through a digital platform. And increasingly, we are seeing a lot of movement in this area. And therefore, all the businesses in the 6 circles of A, as outlined here, needs to link itself to digital infrastructure. And the digital excellence and sustainability are the key to successful destinations. Now, the technology these days is really an empowerment of a lot of development in our field. And especially, it empowers tourists and facilitate the co-creation of a richer and more personalized tourism experience. Hence, technology are not only altering current experience, but also lead to new types of tourist experience. As we can see from the previous speaker's example of the development through railway and how the TOD will enable a city to be formed. In the future, we do see that such smart city development will bring in new elements and therefore bring in the advantage for tourism to be developed within that. And therefore, when technology is being infused with commercial company investing in and consumer coming through, and absolutely no doubt nowadays consumer do rely more and more. I mean, just for example, nowadays, each one of us cannot survive without our mobile phone. I mean, in my case, I have everything, all my password, how I enter my car, and how I take a railway through the ticketing counter, etc. Everything is done through mobile phone. But increasingly, everyone expects their experience to be enhanced by the mobile phones. Therefore, and that is one of the key elements of the digital technology. And therefore, it's absolutely no doubt that this will come in to disrupt us in terms of future tourism. But if we look at a life cycle perspective of tech application, we can look at a pre-tourism experience to an on-site tourism experience and a post-tourist experience. So in terms of pre-tourist experience, we do see technology coming through, and we would expect all the new railway system to be built, etc., and tourism facility to be built, to have online booking system, destination apps, information acquisition channel. People do expect to know more before they travel about tourism destination. And in terms of on-site tourism, we see the coming through, especially nowadays, of digital media art coming through interactive installations, and even in big stations, the auto navigation tools, and in places like museum, we would see AI audio tour to lead tourism through those displays, and with e-table technology. And beyond post-tourism experience, we see digital customer survey to get feedbacks, but also platform for sharing recollections. And those social media platforms and multimedia content tends to draw a lot more rich experience to encourage tourism to come back next. And therefore, the trend of tourism we do see in the field of the human-centered design services orientation is to ease the interaction and build trust between tourists and technology by further supporting the agenda of people-literate technology. And especially nowadays, when we travel in terms of tourism, we do expect user-friendliness. We do expect services to be designed to suit our needs. And increasingly in tourism, this aspect becomes very important. But in terms of another dimension is the cultural-led dimension. The pandemic-driven restriction on travel and the ongoing digital transformation of daily lives, we see culture frequently being consumed in a hybrid form or even online. There's a saying that in right now, because we have not been traveling for the last 2.5 years, every time we see a tourism program coming up on TV of a resort in Thailand or someplace in Japan, in Hong Kong, we all say seeing it is like being there. So the cultural-led perspective of this, especially, is become important during a COVID restrictive environment, that people drive to digital content more than before. And virtualization builds infrastructure and practices that allow people to travel safely in a post-pandemic world and support local communities that benefit from tourism. And we do see TOD development in Thailand is to bring in local economic development, local economic drive. And that really is not just bringing tourists in, but also the tourism activity through various kind of program to enable consumer to spend more in the local community. And in that process, they generate local economic power to enable consumer to spend more and contribute more to the local economy. And the last is the interoperability, the augmented, virtual, and mixed reality technology that are so apparent nowadays can offer alternative, interactive way for tourism and an exciting new model for the industry. And that, when we prepared for a new development, tourism have to embrace such technology to come through. And next, I'll just share a few fairly I would say, current level technology that's already used in some of the application that we've seen here. For example, in terms of checking in for hotels, etc., these days consumer, because of COVID, do not want to have a long queue and interact with servicing staff. Some do want a total experience from registration, check-in to check-out. And just I'll play this video. This is an example in Hong Kong where it's commonly used, a robot is used to serve.
Arrival at hotel, you can do pre-arrival registration at home. Just follow a few simple steps. Upon your arrival, our guest services robot will come to meet you at lobby. Just few fingertips to complete the entire check-in process. If the room is not ready yet, don't worry and take your time to relax first. Once the room is ready, Smart Hotel system will notify you immediately. When you are going to check out your room, just come and meet guest services robot at lobby. Our guest services robot will lead the way to your amazing journey. Please enjoy your stay and have a great time in Royal Plaza. See you soon.
Now you can see here a robot can replace a lot of human but the important aspect of this is not just, it's a new experience for a new breed of travelers who prefer less queue, less interaction with people. But we can see technology can enable many tasks that previously has to be handled manually, totally automatically. And another important aspect of this robot is that if we have different language to be used, the robot can translate or speak in different or interact in different languages, for whether it's a Thai or Japanese or even a Dutch or German. Again, languages can be entertained much more easily. So technology can really help in this aspect. And other aspect on top of robot is our mobile phones. So again, technology is already currently deployed where mobile phone can, through NFC, can enable many of these check-in, check-out function to be used quite effectively. And in terms of a pre-tourism experience, there is a one-stop travel platform including personalized recommendations and booking system, car park availability, parking infrastructure, browsing, etc. And all these systems can be set up to help the consumer in terms of a tourism destination to experience the field before they actually travel. So in preparation, the asset owners need to prepare such softwares and such system to help visitors to acquire comprehensive information on the destination within a few minutes. And of course, nowadays, consumers do demand much more information before they arrive. So gone are the days they'll come in and then they ask the concierge or the help desk for information. Consumer wants to be able to see and feel and plan before they come along. And therefore, in anticipation of those changes, our infrastructure have to allow for this to happen. And in terms of an on-site tourist experience, we do see the augmented reality, the AR navigation tools coming through that with the help of just any mobile phone and by downloading apps or including of the certain programs, the AR wayfinder function could provide a gamified instruction on the indoor routing and direction presented through the camera, and the virtual avatar guides the visitors to glance nearby nearby attraction and signages and help visitors to get an intuitive and easy to follow instruction. So again, all these are current technology. And next, I'll just share some of the indoor navigation technology that we have deployed. In fact, our group, we do quite a bit of a development with the MTR here in Hong Kong. And we have deployed some of these technology in our assets. We're just simply through a simple mobile phone and connecting to Wi-Fi. We do not need additional installation of sensors in the asset. We can guide a consumer or tourist within the assets to the places that they want. And you can switch between GPS and the indoor positioning system through an AI and machine learning. So for consumer, it's a seamless experience in going from places to places. And one example here in Hong Kong is the YM2 Yumen Square. Those of you that's been to Hong Kong is in the Kwun Tong area, and that's one of our latest development in partnership with the Urban Renewal Authority. And it's a big, and we have stuffing quite a lot of new technology through the apps in the mobile. So tourists that comes in an experience can use the apps and effectively find their way around. So you can see here, just with a simple mobile phone apps, they can find the store and they're guided towards walking within the asset, within the shopping center, looking for the particular place and the shops that they need to go to. Now, unfortunately, we couldn't get this video on the high, but next, when you do come to Hong Kong next, our latest M+ museum that is set up here in Hong Kong, it provides a very up-to-date, latest on-site tourist experience through interactive installation. And this new tourism is a classic case of integration of sensors and digital installation that can engage visual arts with the members and the audience, thus creating a dialogue between the past and the present, as well as artifacts and the audience. So again, it creates a brand new experience that users have not gone through before when they go through a traditional museum. Another example here is, let me just turn the video on, is that with some of our assets in Hong Kong, in this case, with our exterior lighting of our two major assets here in TST, we were able to streamline and use the facade to transform that into a digital public art installation. Again, it is something that we can do without spending a huge sum of money to put in a huge LED wall, but this is at a distance. It suddenly became quite a very nice platform to display messages, displays art. Again, in planning for tourism, these kind of assets do help in generating a lot of interest. I'm just going to maybe skip a couple of this. And we are also seeing smart bus stop being included as part of the infrastructure build up in terms of not only design, but having air purification system built in, an interactive system to show displays that could cater for advertising, but also importantly, information about transport system, transport information, but about quality. Through the COVID, many people are concerned of the ambient that we live in, that we are in, and about the virus that is still spreading around. But within such system, we have employed a latest plasma technology and high efficiency filter technology that when you go inside the bus stop, that it gives you a sense of security about a cleaner air environment. And again, this is just showing an aspect is to the large display. It can be used in many instances through advertising or providing more information, etc., etc. So maybe just in interest of time, I'm going to skip a couple of these. And lastly, just as we know that nowadays, everyone is on social media. So in terms of a post-tourist experience, using the asset of individual travelers, the mobile phones, we need to build in digital technology that we can capture the experience. Like once the visitor tags in the appointed hashtag, the post will be featured in the AR social wall. A visitor can discover a lot of special filters, as for example, here in Hong Kong, the West Kowloon AR world, and add it to their own IG story, etc., etc. Now, that is a very important aspect to push post-pandemic tourism experience to new height through all this experience. So, yep. So as you can see, and to use this is really not a very difficult exercise, especially younger generation that can actually use this new technology quite easily. So lastly, if I just need to go back to since running out of time. Just a time by concluding saying it is a time to reinvent, to facilitate urban innovation and collaboration, and we need to move forward through collaboration, innovation practices to co-create, fast-track the implementation of safety travel for travelers, advance the use of interactive technology, AR, navigation tools, etc., and facilitate innovative digital and virtual solution for event facility and services, etc. And with 5G and AI power coming through the tourism, more devices are connected simultaneously. So it is an opportunity for us all to embrace digital technology to bring tourism through asset building to a new height. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Andrew. We've gone through all the presentations, and I am sure that you agree with me. All the speakers have been giving us very inspiring presentations of their own area. I just noticed that they are not only just giving us such a great presentations, but they are all on time, basically, for the presentation, which is a great job, right? A great achievement. And with that, then obviously give us good enough times to go into the next sections, the Q&A sections. So if you still have any kind of question you'd like to raise, I already received one question from the floor, but if you have any other questions, please do raise it through the Q&A buttons, and I'm sure the speaker will be happy to answer the questions. So perhaps, while I'm still perhaps waiting a few more questions to come, let me just, if you can allow me to perhaps to kick off the Q&A sessions. If I can actually perhaps raise the first questions that will perhaps target to all the speakers for today. A general questions in that sense is, when we're planning for the TOD and other infrastructure projects in either Thailand or Hong Kong, as sustainability is obviously getting more limelight on these particular aspects. Can each of you perhaps be able to share with us any points, any areas that you think that we should take into considerations in order to be able to achieve the sustainable development for that particular infrastructures or whatever application concerned? Shall I perhaps just follow the order of the presentation? So can I have, first of all, perhaps Dr. Yun to provide or give us some ideas from your aspect in terms of the sustainable development?
Yes, thank you. I think as compared to other countries as well, the Thailand is going towards the sustainability, but the performance is a bit, I think, behind what we have expected. And so far, what I can say is the responsive of the response of the government in terms of the sustainable development or the SDGs. As I mentioned earlier, that it's already integrated into the national strategy. But in more detail on that, the government is supporting and also putting much more incentive and also the emphasis on the biocircular and green economy, or the BCG. That is the key terms of the when the government is using this approach. And there are 4 key sectors that the government is heading towards. The first one is food and agriculture. The second one is healthcare. The third one is energy and materials development. And the fourth one is tourism service, including the creative economy. So all the 4 are perhaps considered by the government as a strength of the country, that it would go into this under the BCG models. So in terms of TOD is under the energy and materials and also tourism and service sectors, sectoral industry that we are heading for. So when we talk about the TOD and also the rail development, we have to think about the sector of energy and materials and also tourism and services. And my own remark on this is from my experience of working with the team on the TODs. I have 4 remarks. The first one is in launching or in achieving the SDGs, you have to work more on the local and community cooperation or the involvement in the process. The second one is perhaps in Thailand is there are a lot more for innovations and also technology advancements. So if we can apply some sort of the appropriate technology that fit in our context and our capacity, it would be and also it should be affordable as well. And the third one is there are some areas under laws and regulations that should be improved. And the fourth one is we are now working with a lot of the pilot projects and flagship projects also towards this, since I'm also one of the committee in the National Competitiveness group on the research on this. So we are working quite a lot on these 4 aspects of the going towards the SDG. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Dr. Yong. Perhaps if I may actually ask Khun Ek to also respond to this particular part of the work, i.e. sustainability. Any comments from you?
Yes. Okay. For me, myself, to achieve the sustainable development for TOD and other infrastructure projects, I think we should consider first is the increase in GDP, and another term is gross provincial product, or GPP as well. Second one, the increase of employment rate and average salary. Third, increase of investment project in Thailand. Fourth, the job growth and increase of household income. Fifth, increase of number of tourists, visitation, global and local. And the last one, the increase of real estate price, including increase and expansion of number of offices located in that area. That's from my part. Thank you.
All right, thanks a lot, Khun Ek. Perhaps we then move on to the Hong Kong side of it. Francis, your view, please.
Okay. In terms of achieving sustainable developments for TOD or other infrastructure projects, to me, I mean, TOD itself in Hong Kong is already very smart and sustainable. On the other hand, I think there's also a need to enhance and expand the comprehensive pedestrian network to the station catchment beyond the 500 meters to attract more ridership to use the public transport, which in terms is sustainable in the longer term. And also, we also need to strike the balance when we're doing the design between of a development between providing convenient and seamless public transport multimodal interchange and enhance the footfall via the commercial development. Because a lot of the time, government award projects to a private development, there's a gray area in between that. There's a lot of mismatch, right? And then we also that depends on the location of the TOD. Yeah? So you may also need to scrutinize the parking provision, which a lot of the time, when on one hand we promote TOD sustainable, less parking, but on the other hand, you need parking to support some of the function. So how do you balance the two? So there'll be more parking for retail, less parking for office or share. And in Thailand, I can say that in Bangkok, the BTS line, I mean, it would be good in the suburban station to provide parking structure or facility so that people can park and ride and then commute into Bangkok. So that's something that we also have some in Hong Kong, like the Chai Hong Park and Ride, for the people coming out from Sai Kung to commute to other parts of the territory. The other thing is in developing these TOD projects, infrastructure projects, be it from the planning, constructions, operation to completion and management of this development, sustainability plays a key role, such as ESG, as mentioned before, the BIMs in Hong Kong, we have the construction 2.0, the UN SDGs, the GLI standards, etc. And most importantly is the, like Andrew was introducing the innovation, I think we need to develop a smart mobility to integrate with the future TOD development for our generations. All right? Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Francis. Very interesting and useful news. Perhaps over to you, Andrew, in terms of the sustainability on the development.
Yes,
on the innovation side.
I think the speakers already covered most aspects. May I just add in the aspects of, I think for sustainability, the focus is really on about carbon reduction and about energy consumption. So I think using of technology to help reduce carbon footprints, like for example, using AI technology to help optimize air conditioning system energy to minimize usage, I think that really counts. Using newer sustainable materials as we go forward, like for example, using renewable recycled material in terms of building material, using those, I think the carbon reduction the data that we can collect out of those carbon reduction in using those sustainable material is also a key aspect. Another aspect we have been doing here in Hong Kong is engaging to allow for more, as people use more electric vehicles, certainly here in Hong Kong, that enabling EV charging in the facility, and especially as you build a big railway station, that people can park the car and go somewhere. Having relevant electric vehicle charging in a city like Hong Kong is very important, and we see a lot of development now being into those areas that enable people to do EV charging. So I think in terms of the sustainability, I think the energy certainly is, I believe, a key aspect because it's long term and we need to use less energy, but providing a safe environment.
All right, thanks, Andrew. I think all the speakers share with us a few key points, which are pretty general in the sense that it would be basically able to be applied, not only just from their own area, but also perhaps in other cities as well. So that is actually pretty useful kind of hints for us to consider in terms of the sustainability for this particular aspect of work. If I may perhaps just go into kind of questions for individual speaker on the individual presentations. If I may, perhaps I can first of all raise the first questions to Dr. Yong on his presentation on the TOD planes and things like that. Just one point, and it's also raised by the audience, is that for such a huge TOD plane in Thailand, that's what you have presented. I guess some key factors that obviously we need to consider in terms of how to make the TOD plane successful. One is talking about the money, right? Where's the money coming from? How is the money going to be arranged? So part of the TOD plane, are you thinking that perhaps we can also looking for potential investor or PPP partners from outside the country, overseas, for example? So that is the first thing. The other thing, obviously, apart from money, obviously we need human capital. We need human resources to support the projects. So it's not actually easy to identify a continuous supply of competent human resources over the overall project period, which is not only just a short period, it could be a couple of years. So maybe you can share with us how you'll be able to think of in terms of the provision of the money and also the human resources to support the TOD plane to make sure it will be a successful plane in Thailand. So, Dr. Yong, please.
Thanks, Mr. Chan, for the interesting question. The first one is about the source of funding or the investment.
Yeah.
So during our study, we found also that the characteristic and the background of the land of the TOD, for instance, 177 TODs are different. They are so diverse in terms of land ownership and also the readiness of the local investor to do it. In some areas, for pulling the funding resource for the implementation, for instance, in Khon Kaen and also in some cities, they already have some kind of the funding pool from the private sector in the especially the land development, but not that for the mass transportation at the like a feeder from the high-speed rail. And there is a model having the Khon Kaen is the as the first to have what we call the city corporation. It's this corporation is from the big names of the local entrepreneurs and the local investors who are able. Some of them are landowners. Some of them they have a lot of financial resources to invest in that. Anyway, in investing in the TOD, they are much more than just the land development. It's about the process of making TOD, like Francis was saying. Also, it's about the process and the system, and the also with the cooperation from the government investment in infrastructure and utilities, such as utilities and services, also in the same line. That is one point. That the in some area the local investor has foresee this opportunity. The second one is we found that in some areas also where land is not the big issue, meaning they have are very close to a single land ownership. For instance, the State Railway Authority of Thailand, the SRT, and for that, and if there is a tendency that the investors of the transportation or the mass transportation and also the land development is quite united, so we can do what Francis was saying, like the LVC or land value capture. That would attract investors from anywhere else, because if you invest in this particular project, you would gain from that. You gain the benefit from the LVC as well. And we found that it for the whole case is so diverse, as I was saying. So it's very difficult to find one single model for the investment attraction of the local investor. That is the first question. And the second question is it's about the investment in the human resource to have the competence for TOD. We are well aware of this from the beginning, because TOD is considered a very new approach and new things in the country, whereby some people were talking about TOD and wrote the articles about TOD already, but they don't have a very complete component, as Francis was saying also, and we try to communicate into a very simpler language that we have you should have at least 4 components all together. And in this regard, we plan and together with the OTP to have a kind of the program of the competence framework for TOD implementation. The first thing is we have to look at the target group. The target group is the first one is the competence authority that is going to work to give assistance and also to help launching the TOD. The second one is the relevant government agencies and also the authorities who are, have the stake in the development. And the first one is the public at large for implementation. So what we have prepared to propose to the government is, of course, we are in the stage of proposing the competence program, and we have already have the draft Thailand TOD standard in the Thai context already with the OTP, and we use that as reference material to communicate with the 3 groups, but maybe different ways of communication. And the third one is we propose to have the consecutive the competence program throughout the planning period of the TOD, because not all area not all TOD are implemented at the same time. So we do according to the phasing as well. So in the very first year, we pay attention on the TOD competence authority that we are waiting for the government answer to make a judgment. So who would be the competence authority of the TOD?
Okay, great. Thanks.
Thank you. I think that covers the
Yeah, thanks very much, Dr. Yong. I think it's good to hear that both basically areas are covered for these particular implementation of the TOD. Perhaps moving on to Hong Kong, Francis, share based on your past experience in terms of the successful TOD projects and the plan for Hong Kong. But I'm sure that they're bound to have some sort of problems that when executing of these particular projects that the project itself will encounter. So will you be able to share with us some of the common problems that have been encountered and how these problems are able to be overcome in the process?
Okay. I would call this the challenges. Problems seems to be a bit of taboo sometimes when you approach the different departments. These are the challenges which we always face. When you drop by Hong Kong, like Dr. Yong was teaching at Hong Kong U, you have the construction of the West Island Line, and all this temporary traffic and constraint to access the site. One of the issues. I think in Hong Kong, we face with the confined space because everything is vertically integration growing up. At the planning stage, even after the tender has been awarded to the potential JV for TOD topside development, there's always changes to the layout. And there's always a time where you have competing for space between the government agency and the commercial requirement by the developer. So there's always a dispute, as I mentioned earlier, about for example, the PTI, the public transport interchange, which they have to build. How much space is needed for the green area, how much space is needed for the circulation and the ventilation, and all that has to be resolved during the course of the planning stage. And then during the construction stage in Hong Kong, as you know, most of the construction of the topside developments, there's always a station that is operating 24 hours. There's a live station. So that is a major challenge to actually work around a station depot, where my office is in Wong Chuk Hang. I see it happening every day. The depot is there, but then the development on top and adjacent is continuing. Continuing in the sense that they use different access, different construction access and ways of construction to get it done. And then the other major issue is when you have a existing public transport facility, like in Bangsu, you have the Mochis 2 station. So if you do redevelop the whole area and you want to be part of the development in future to integrate this Bangsu station, the PTI, you cannot just close it and then move it somewhere else. So you have to do phase implementation to gradually shift from left to right, like the one we did in Dai Wai station. All right. So there's a lot of process to consider, and the general phasing, the phase implementation issue surrounding the area where you have highways, major corridor that traffics are congested every day coming in. Example in West Kowloon, we've been working on the West Kowloon stations, high-speed rail stations, and then the West Kowloon cultural basements for a number of years. And every day you pass through the area, you just say, this is another jam. Because the construction is going on. We have to make sure that the roads are connected and maintained 24 hours a day. So these are some of the points that you need to bear in mind, because it will affect the whole construction process. Because if you get started with the submission, and also some of the issue that you don't resolve, then it will be difficult. You have to catch up your construction to complete the projects. Yeah.
Certainly. Okay, thank you very much, Francis. So obviously, it will not only perhaps just affect the process, but also talking about perhaps the impact to the public as well,
Yes.
right, in that process concerned. So very good point. Thanks a lot, Francis. If I may move to Khun Ek, I think HSR project is certainly a very interesting project, connecting 3 airports with a high-speed rail. But one of the challenges I would foresee is that it would actually have a part to integrate with the existing railway alignment, right? The existing railway line. So meaning that is a kind of a brownfield plus a greenfield projects. Now, obviously, one of the biggest challenges for integrating with the brownfield is the fact that it will easily leading to time and cost overrun. I think the recent Hong Kong projects that we are having will demonstrate that point. So if I may just ask you to share with us in terms of if you have any kind of suggestion in terms of the measures or initiative that you may have in mind that may be able to help to contain the kind of issues or potential problems that may arise from these particular greenfield, brownfield integration for such a good projects concerned.
The construction environment of the MRT and SRT is quite different, because most of the construction work of the MRTA normally works at the city area. So they are congested and deal with lots of people. But SRT, normally they construct in the rural area, so that there is not much like a fight between the congested area of the congested community. So from my experience, some of the major problems that we encounter currently are the land acquisitions and squatter removal, which normally causes great delay. Under the PPP project contract, the 3 airport railings, those tasks, land acquisitions and removal of squatters, must be carried out by public sector, not the private sector. So the correct measure is the negotiation and appropriate amount of compensation are the key to success. So this relies on individual skill in negotiation with the people or the squatters or some people who have been impacted by the project. The second one is quite a primary causes as well, is the relocation of existing public utility infrastructure, like telecom wire, the electric or something, or the water pipe, something like that. So I have to bring you to the past to correct this problem. Precise survey or accurate survey prior to the project implementation could reduce these delays.
Oh, yeah, certainly.
That's all from my point.
All right,
Thank
thanks. Thanks very much, Kun Ek. I think, yeah, very good points raised or highlighted in these particular aspects to ensure that the project program and also obviously the project cost will be able to be contained. Andrew, over to you, if I may ask. Very interesting in terms of presentations on all the innovations and the technologies, things like that. I'm an engineer and obviously I like the technology as well. But then if I can just share with you, I'm not just trying to discourage you, but if I can share with you a recent experience that I had, right? These days, we need to fill in this kind of arrival card, right? To quite a number of places concerned. So I had a very bad experience recently, about 2 weeks ago. I entered a country, I'm not going to tell you which exactly, but then it's so difficult because it has to be online. So I use my mobile phone, I put in the information, and you know what? I really have a problem in terms of even in front of the check-in counter to get the information, but without doing that, I'm not allowed to go on the plane. So technology is good, and I guess one of the challenges is, as you said, the younger generations is perhaps just like it. If I consider myself young, I like it. But in terms of using it, user-friendly is always a kind of challenges, right? So perhaps you can share with us in terms of, while you are actually heading for these particular types of work, how you'll be able to perhaps share with us in terms of those areas that we need to pay special attention to in order to make sure these particular real technology, good idea, be able to be successfully implemented.
Right. Yes, certainly that is the key. As we see in a lot of digital process of digitization, the technology is not actually the critical part. I mean, it is important, but a more critical part is the user interface and the training, explanation of the how-to, etc. And as you were saying that even just a simple filling the form, a younger person may be able to maneuver through very quickly. But what about somebody that is less tech savvy? So what we have found in the past is that we have to ensure, first of all, training of staff to ensure that they can explain the how-to to customers. I think that's a very important part. It's not like giving somebody a mobile phone, they can handle it. So if they're in trouble, who do we deal with? So I think training is very important. Articulating the benefits so there's less resistance, but also many testing to ensure that to keep it simple and stupid. I mean, it's a common principle. Don't make it complicated. A lot of the automation needs to be done at the background, but the interface with the customers needs to be simple, foolproof, and just very simple, somebody and forgiving. So I think in any digital implementation process of digital technology, I think just these basic steps need to be ensured, because at the end of the day, it's about convincing a consumer, convincing customers that these technologies are good for them. And we need to elevate their fear or the antagonistic bad experience that we may have, and you can turn it off. So often when we design a program, we need to ensure that a lot of effort is put into training of staff, but also explaining to customers and make the user interface easy to follow.
All right, thank you very much, Andrew. I think very, very true in the sense that when we design all these kind of technologies, user interface, things like that, we probably need to put ourselves under their shoes in terms of how the user will be able to use it, probably at all different ages, on all different walks of life, and that they still be able to enjoy in using it. That's the key of the success of the implementation of the application concerns. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think I'm very mindful of the time. We come to the end of the webinar. I hope that you find the presentations and also the discussion useful and insightful and inspiring. That would perhaps pave the way forward in terms of our planning for TOD, the strategy, the plan, and also the application of the technologies concerned. Not only just in Hong Kong, Thailand, but perhaps in this part of the world, right? That will be also applicable. So before the closing, may I ask you to join me to give a big applause? And obviously, I cannot hear your applause, but if you can actually use the thumbs up or your clapping of the hands symbols in the Zoom, like this, right? To give a big thanks to all our speakers for today, for their contributions or the presentation today. Thank you so much for that. And on behalf of the organizers, Hong Kong Trade Development Councils and the Office of Transport and Traffic Policies and Planning, Ministries of Transport Thailand, I would also like to thank you all for your participations in the webinar. Without you, obviously, our webinar would actually take no meaning at all. So as we are very keen to hear your feedback for our continuous improvement, can I ask you to perhaps please fill in the short questionnaire upon leaving the webinar, but before you exit the Zoom. So we're waiting or looking forward to having your comments back to us. So thanks once again for your participations, and we are sincerely hope to see you again in our next webinar that may take place soon. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.